Hey YouTube, we're finally back after what felt like maybe 9 seasons or so of not being able to use Ninetales. I can finally use it again. So basically, um, we have a meta that's been dominated by water and ground for like the last like 6 or 7 seasons, and it still is to a certain extent. You definitely need to build for those, but Jumpluff, the new #1 ranked Pokemon, grass. Uh, Now you have Tinkaton as the steel in that a lot of people are using. And then you have corviknight that a lot of people are using because it's an answer to sort of both of those. And what beats all of them but a fire Pokemon in Ninetales? So between that and other grass and stuff like that, you have a chance to actually use it now. Again, there are still tons of water, tons of ground. Even some of these, maybe these battles are I'm using Ninetales again on another team. Like I just run into backlines of like water ground combo and it's just like okay, I'm screwed. So just be aware that it has more play, but it definitely still has its limitations. But it was fun to use it again. Let's look at the battles. It's basically just a water, grass, fire team, so you kind of cover each other's weaknesses. Credillia is a safe swap, but for Alligator on the lead can play out most matches. So going to stay in the first one here. I'm going to shield up a Crunch. And again, I've kind of explained why I do this, even though they did lower my defense there. The reason that I do this is because if you let a Crunch go, it is pretty close to one-shotting, but it is also close to if they can't take you out with one shot, it's easier to bait the second time around like that. So they baited there, but I let that one go. But if you shield up the Crunch, you have to force them to throw a Crunch, or you get that exact situation where I am able to just take that move. So they eventually get off a Crunch here. That's fine. Can I take this out before? No, here comes another one. Drapion is so spammy. But hopefully I can just sweep with Ninetales. They did catch on a Dusclops. So nice catch. Now, Ninetales is fun if you haven't used it before. I really like using it. Now, it has its limitations. You need to overheat a lot of things to win. The Fire Spin got buffed maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago now. Maybe 2 seasons ago. And so Fire Spin adds up a little more. Weather Ball's an okay move. From the shadow, you get some damage here, but you really want to make sure you have the overheat for a lot of things. So take out Dusclops. Out comes the Drapion. I had some energy, so Fire Spin and Weather Ball combo here. And what's in the back? It is Primeape, and I am at the overheat with the shield. So I'm going to shield that and land this overheat for the win here. So sweeping the end game with a shield advantage. Ninetales. Love to see it. Quagsire, right? So there's kid's coughing, but I'm assuming my wife has that. Quagsire, there's something that will beat the Ninetales, but for Alligator, we just play this matchup out. They have to Stone Edge. They do bait. They don't have to Stone Edge. They can bait. And they do bait and catch on a Jumpluff. So, geez, brutal combo there for me. But, now I got my Ninetales on the Jumpluff. Most of these are running acrobatics now, so I'm just going straight away. Like, I don't want you to get to an acrobatics and like chip me to the deep red, so I will just almost take this out. Unfortunately, not enough takeout. And that's the problem with Weather Ball. Like, it's not an amazing move. And acrobatics lands. I guess it's a non-shadow, so I could have easily lived this. But, just this chip here is okay. You're not going to do much here. I'm just worried about getting farmed down. But you know what? Like, the Fire Spins are adding up. I'm glad they dumped energy. I don't think they had to dump energy there. I think they could have just farmed down. But the Fire Spins were adding up. So now just getting ahead on Cordeli to hopefully take this out. You want to take it out because then you can just, like, lower the opponent's attack and they can't reset. But they smartly bank that. Unfortunate for them, they have a Drifblim, which is weak to rock. So here's the first rock tomb, and now I can just claw down here. I'll shield up a move here because they have like nothing left on the Quagsire here. So take this out, and then it's an easy win. Jumpluff, bad lead. Is this where I go stupid? No, I have to stay in this matchup. Nah, you can go Credillia if you really want to. This is where I go bait mode. So this is one of those. There's certain scenarios where it's easier to bait. And the easiest scenario to bait is if you get to a charge move that will take out your opponent and your opponent has not thrown any moves yet. So that's the exact case there. I got to Ice Beam, and for some reason they were just like over farming, maybe going for acrobatics, but they did not throw a move. And if you get to the Ice Beam first in one shot, they will be kind of scared. Like, oh, I have all this energy and I'm going to go down. I need to shield this. So it's a lot easier to bait in those situations, I have found. These guys are really holding on to energy because I just got off a Rock Tomb when I should have been outpaced here. Can I get to another one here? No, they're out of move, but that's okay. I imagine I just come Ninetales and start getting ahead on energy, hoping that they cannot get to a third Sparkling Aria here. I'd be surprised if they can. Swampert comes in. Got a shield. Instant swap. I have a Hydra. Let's get this out of here. So take that out. Goodbye. What do we got left? A bit of the jumpluff and a lot of the jumpluff. So they will take me out here. That's okay. And a little bit of the Lapras, right? So take this out here. Do they have energy on the Lapras? I don't think so. So goodbye Jumpluff. They do. And they have energy. So goodbye Ninetales. And that's the thing. There's still like so many. This is what I found with it. Like there's still so many. It's more hit or miss now. So before, just to give you the history of Ninetales and how I've always used it and how I dominate with it. I used it in a meta where it had like don't get me wrong, there was like Swampert, but outside like Swampert and Azumarill, there were very few Pokemon at the time that beat it, because it was the meta when I first used it was Registeel, Trevenant, Walrein. So Walrein would need to land an Earthquake, and you hit neutral because it's half ice, and then you're super effective against Trevenant and Registeel, and that's when I first started using it. And I was able to use it for a bit, and then the meta became Lantern. So it was like, okay, a little trickier, but still has some play. You did okay against Medi. You actually did okay against Lickitung. So those are matchups that you could actually play out. I used it in my first Toronto Regional that I went to. So I had play. And then the meta became Feraligatr and Ground, right? Quagsire, Quagsire, Gastrodon, and it's just like, ooh, I cannot use this Pokemon anymore. So the problem is now that you now have like sort of like an imbalance, not imbalance, but you have more Pokemon that have play now. So you still have all those things that are going to beat you, right? Gastrodon, whatever, Mudboy, Feraligatr. You're probably going to get outpaced on, yeah, but you won't be able to land an Overheat on Lapras. So like you're going to get outpaced to the Sparkling Arias. There's that. Other Pokemon have water moves like Drapion and stuff. Azumarill still out there. So there's still so much that beats you. But, you know, there's grass, but there's also like Credility, which is half and half, right? You'll hit neutral. You'll resist Bullet Seed, but then Rock Tomb is super effective. And then there's like, but now there's all the steel, right? There's Corviknight, there's Tinkaton. And one thing about Ninetales is that you can actually do quite well in sort of like even energy shield scenarios against like other top ranked Pokemon. I'm just going to put it in the multi just so I can give you an example of what I'm talking about here. So you have a 22-25 record with a 483 average. And again, like you get killed by Quagsire, Rock, Carbink, Feraligatr, Jellicent, Azumarill, like Ground, Marowak, Toxapex, Gastrodon, Blastoise. Like those are all expected, and they're hard losses, so that sucks, right? That's why it's still tricky to use. On the other end, you have wins in the 900 against Tinkaton, 908 against Tinkaton. That's insane. Sandslash 900, Dugong 817, Jumpluff 750, Superior 734. So like Corviknight, right? You have a lot of Wigglytuff 710. You have a lot of good wins. But here comes all those sort of neutral matchups that I also like for it. You beat Corsola, you beat Dusclops, you beat Weezing, you beat Annihilate, you actually do beat Shadow Drapion, you beat Mandibuzz. Now, a lot of those will require an overheat. I can guarantee right now the majority of those, you even beat Talonflame. Again, that you need an overheat for these. So I can guarantee Mandibuzz, a lot of these Pokemon you will need overheats for. But those are a lot of good wins, right? And even some of your losses are close, like Malamar 474. Even Lapras with Sparkling Aria is 432. Well, that's a shadow. The non-shadow is 363. But you just aren't going to get to the you won't get to the overheat on these. So like this is the type of Pokemon that will probably be deadly in a 2v1 or 1v2. Yeah. 2v1 shield scenario, it's 39 and 9. And 1v0 when you can just overheat a bunch of stuff, 36 and 12. Yeah, the problem is the waters, right? Because even if you can overheat a water, a lot of the time it will not one-shot. So Azumarill, Toxapex, Jellicent, Blastoise, Guzzlord as a dragon will resist. These Pokemon will still live the overheat in the zero shield scenario. So they'll still take you out. But yeah, it's a really, really strong Pokemon. How does that do 2 versus 2? Because the fire spins do add up. Yeah, more on the it's a little on the glacier side, and the weather balls don't add up enough. So if you're going to use this Pokemon, keep in mind that it probably plays better with shield advantage, and that you need to overheat stuff. So sometimes it requires a bait, sometimes it requires just going straight overheat and then like resetting on something else because you lower your attack times 2, I think. With that said, are there other fire Pokemon you should use? I went up against a couple. People are kind of recognizing fire is back on the menu here. I ran up against a couple fire lines. Talonflame, of course, is everywhere, but now it's Typhlosion is back too. So I ran up against that double fire line like 3 or 4 times now. So you have Typhlosion as the safe swap. And then if like a water Pokemon comes in like Lapras or Feraligatr, you have Thunder Punch for it. So you beat it with that and then have your front as like a grass to punish those, and then have Talonflame as your second in the back. So I think there's probably other fire Pokemon to use, but as someone who has dominated with Ninetales for so long and is looking for a reason to use it, that's the reason that I used it. And again, I think it has play. But if you search fire, Marowak, I haven't really seen a lot of Marowaks considering the Shadow A Marowak is 53. Even the non-Shadow is 58. But then Talonflame 85. What the heck is a Armarouge? Fire Psychic? What is this Pokemon? I've never heard of this Pokemon. Very attack heavy, 133, 110. It is a Fire Psychic. Weak to Dark, Ghost, Ground, Rock, and Water, which again, you're going to lose to a lot, but beats Steel, Psychic, resists Steel, Psychic, Ice, Grass, Fire, Fighting, and Fairy. Okay, let me just look up this Pokemon. I've never heard of this Pokemon. Armarouge? Armarouge. Oh, it's the evolved form of... yes. It's the evolved form of Charcadet. So it's the evolved form of Charcadet, and that is ranked 89. Skeledirge 106, Magcargo 124. It has the non-shadow Ninetales ranked at 165 and the shadow at 189. Honestly, if you're going to use Ninetales, I don't care what the rankings say, use the shadow. You want that shadow for the overheat. And then Typhlosion shadow is 177. So there are some options. And again, like if you look in the top meta, the amount of steals has increased. Some grass out there. But then there's still a lot of water and ground, so you gotta kind of watch out for that. I'm running again with same sort of team. I think I put Lapras instead of Feraligatr because I wanted a bit more bulk. And again, I think if you want to play Ninetales, this is more just like a summary of how to use Ninetales as opposed to the battles. But I mean, you're coming to the master for it because it has such. You need shields for it, and it works better with shield advantage. You probably want Pokemon that can take some damage and grab some shields. So I think Credillia is a nice one because you put a lot of pressure with those Rock Tombs and Grass Knots, and you can take a decent amount of charge moves. You probably get taken out in 2 for most things, but you can at least take 1 with ease. This is why I think I put Lapras on for the second time around. But you want to try to get like some bulky Pokemon with it. I wonder who they recommend building with. I tried Superior, but then I like ran into that double fire line. I'm like, oh yeah, you actually lose to those other fire Pokemon, and Superior doesn't help you, which is why I think Credillia is just like so strong, because you have the coverage for the fires that beat you while still being able to hit against the waters and stuff. So I think it's just very strong. Credillia is this the first. I'm so smart. The first suggested teammate on PvPoke, I didn't even look at this, is Credillia. Not surprisingly. Dusclops and Corsola make sense. Just because they both have a same amount of bulk, can take damage, and spam enough that you may grab shields with them. Lapras is also on this list, and so is Gastrodon. So I guess all those make sense. If I'm running Credillia, what is the third option that they suggest? Gastrodon. Yeah. Makes sense to deal with quagsire, Bastiodon, right? Because you're going to be have a little problem with those. Marowak, a lot of ground, a lot of stuff to deal with, just like Bastiodon and quagsire, which is how PvPoke does it. Yeah. So that is essentially Ninetales. But this is when it gets kind of interesting. It's trying to find these hidden gems. And again, I would argue that I've generally been ahead of the curve on these hidden gems. With Ninetales and then Togedemaru, like I feel like I've usually find the hidden gems to core break a bunch of stuff. But this unfortunately is not a core breaker right now. It's has more play because there's a lot more in the meta that I can deal with. It like do well in neutral matchups and beat a lot of the top meta. But it also loses to a lot of the top meta. So it's not the core breaker like it used to be, and it's not a core breaker like Togedemaru used to be. It's like it has more play, but it still has limitations. So yeah, maybe I'll switch up the team and put in like a go Credillia still, but then maybe go with like a Dusclops or a Corsola. That might not be a bad idea. Maybe I'll switch Lapras out and do that and test out to see how that plays, because I bet you those play better against a lot of the main meta. I'm gonna test it. Anyways, that is it. You're going to see one more team, which I did well with. I'm still hovering around the 2,500 range. I dropped like 2420, and then between this team and the team that maybe is going to come this afternoon, the Driftbloom team, I jumped up to like 2530 something. So I'm still kind of just hovering around there. And playing more though. I was kind of nervous because I was kind of mentioned, I took like basically a week and a half off GBL. I barely played Spring Cup at all. Didn't play Ultra League or Master League. So I took like a week and a half off. And then Great League comes back. And I'm on the bus on the way home from work. Tuesday, league turnover. And I did 2 battles. And I'm just like, I don't want to play. Like, I don't want to play. And I'm like, oh man, am I truly just done with this game? But then I've played a lot since. I'm almost doing all sets per day now. So yeah, glad Great League is back. And that I'm still enjoying this sort of grind for it. So I think this is maybe the last battle. Yeah, this is the last battle. And this is a perfect one that you'll see here with Mandibuzz. One overheat probably does not take out from here, but it's going to do in a significant amount. It's going to put it into like the deep yellow, deep red. Which is fine. And if they just go aerial, you can like live this too, which they do. And the fire spins like do add up, and that was with a lowered attack, and I still get to move, right? So it definitely has play against some of these meta Pokemon in neutral situations, and then obviously dominates the ones that it's supposed to dominate. And then gets killed by the ones you're supposed to get killed by. So nice to be able to use it again, even though it doesn't have as much play as it used to in the past. But anyways, that is it. So thanks for watching. Hope. Do you have a go-to Pokemon that you like really want to use that you just haven't been able to use and you're hoping you'll be able to use it again? Um, like mine was Ninetales. I'm glad I can use it again. I'm gonna try using it again for another team for the next few weeks so that I can use it. Like Togedemaru was fun. I really enjoyed using it. I mean, Morpeko is just better at this point, and Morpeko's fun too. So I'm fine substituting Togedemaru for Morpeko here. Um, but otherwise, yeah. Let me know if there's like a Pokemon that you like to use that's always been on your team that you grind with that you think is like hidden gem sort of thing that you love using. Let me know your secret. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.